Hey guys, this is Mogamu, and I got a few questions I want to ask you guys, and the answer may depend on if you want to watch this video or not, okay? So here are the questions. Are you getting shredded by bosses in Remnant? Are you being overrun by the annoying little enemies that are just creeping at your toes and just grabbing at your knees? Are those getting to you? Or is the Undying King not actually dying? I mean, he's got dying right there in the name, but it's undying. I don't know. Either way, the Undying King isn't dying. If you're having these types of troubles, I got a video for you. So I have 10 facts that are going to help new players to Remnant, because Remnant from the Ashes comes out today. Now, this is going to be a little bit more difficult than what people are used to on my channel. A lot of you guys play Dark Souls and Bloodborne, so that don't apply to you. But a lot of the Warframe players who are looking to buy this game and you've never really played a game like this and you're new to this, I got 10 facts that are going to really help you get into this. Now, I'm not the best player, but I did pre-order this. I'm about 30 hours in, and I'm totally not addicted. You're addicted. Like, I can quit at any time. Don't tell me I can't quit. This is not a real addiction. 10 facts about Remnant from the Ashes that's going to keep you from getting slaughtered in this game. Deep research got me to this point, and here we go. First of all, dodging is best. Right now, to me, dodging is the best defense, especially in solo. You're still going to invest into your vitality, a lot of your health points and magical defenses and stuff like that. But for the most part, the king of your defenses is going to be the dodge, right? So make sure you put a little bit of points in stamina and stamina regen, stamina cap. Make sure you at least put some stuff there, so if you're rolling around, you're not getting hit, because no matter how much health you have in this game, man, you can still get wrecked pretty fast. I've got a nice bit of vigor, and even in some of the earlier maps, if I get hit, I take a hard hit, I can go down, okay? So definitely stamina dodging is probably your best defense, especially for your first playthrough of the game. Now after that, I don't know, I just finished the campaign, I just started my second playthrough. After that, not really sure you want to go more into your defenses, but you got to get your dodging down, especially with that heavier armor. You're going to dodge really slow. You need some stamina, get your dodging down, you'll be good. That's the best defense. Number 2, I cannot underestimate the importance of juggling. Juggling and staggers. Now, some weapons have stagger innate on them. Some of the heavier weapons, you're going to need that to like stagger bosses and that type of thing. But when small enemies are running at you and you don't have the defenses, for instance, like I was saying earlier, the health to take some of the damage from those enemies, the little critters that are running at you, you can actually juggle those enemies. So if you've got a fast shooting weapon like a repeater pistol or a magnum or something like that, something that can actually stagger those enemies, especially the repeater pistol, instead of shooting the enemy twice to kill it, you can tap each enemy that's running at you. And every time you tap that enemy, you hit a stagger, it'll stagger that enemy. You don't have to actually kill them. And that keeps them at bay. It staggers them away from you, right? And that's a really great thing if it's too many of them to dodge. So juggling and staggers are really good for this game, especially I'm talking about solo. If you want to keep enemies away from you, you don't have the extra AoE heal to make up some of the health. Juggling and staggers, super useful in this game. Number 3, enemies damage each other. Now this isn't a big one. Again, this is a more of a solo thing. So for instance, if the explosive guys are running at you, you can actually get another enemy to take a swing at them. If there is an enemy coming at you and there's another enemy in the distance that's a ranged enemy, place yourself at the end where those two enemies are lined up, and the ranged enemy will actually hit the enemy that's running at you. Really good for boss fights. Get between the enemies, make one enemy between you, and that's going to really help get rid of some of the enemies that are rushing you. Real good tip. You're not going to always be in a situation to use that, but super useful. Now, number 4, we got to talk about it. We got to talk about the GOAT weapon. We got to talk about the particle cannon. Now, the particle cannon, in my opinion, right now, and I've got about a playthrough and a half's worth of weapons. Right now, the particle cannon is the GOAT. It's the actual GOAT. This weapon is, not only is it one of the great damaging weapons, like for instance, if you level this weapon all the way up, headshots are insane with this weapon. You can get 300-400 headshots, especially depending on your perks. If you got crit perks, headshot perks, that type of stuff, you can get some pretty decent sniper worthy damage. And it's got 4 in the magazine, so it's not like a one pop and reload. You can get 4 rounds off of this weapon at a fairly decent rate. So not only is it good for popping bosses in the head, but the particle cannon is also good for clearing out enemies. Pop 4 enemies, reload if you've got the range. Particle cannon is a go. But not only just that, the particle cannon also has the vortex, the AoE vortex that sucks enemies in. And my God, as long as you're not killing your teammates, that is just the best thing, to drop that in the middle of a couple of enemies, knock them out. You could drop that on a boss or some of the mini bosses, and man, the vortex does work. So definitely get your hands on a particle cannon. I don't remember exactly what enemy drops it. I'll annotate that right now, hopefully, if I can edit that into the video. So just look at that on the screen. It'll tell you which boss drops the particle cannon, okay? Make sure you get that gun. Right now, my whole team is running that gun until we get maybe a better gun than that, all right? Number 5, and this is totally for the new players, upgrade. Make sure you upgrade. When you're first getting into the game, you may not know that you can go back to the home base, go to the guy that does the upgrades and armor, and use iron and then galvanized iron and then more and more materials to upgrade your stuff. Super early game, you want that because, for instance, when you get to the first boss, the boss is going to be all about mistakes, right? It's endurance. You make less mistakes, you kill the boss. But if your weapon does a lot more damage in early game, it's going to be less frustrating for you. You can kill that boss a lot quicker, and you don't get frustrated, man. You don't go in here and take 13 deaths in your first kill. So really super early game. Make sure before you get to your first boss, you're using at least some of that iron to upgrade your early weapons. So the first boss isn't trash, so you don't get wrecked by him. Number 6, explore. Look around. Now, I'm terrible with directions, so I don't know how this is going to work for you guys. But also always make sure you're looking around. So for instance, there's always something around. You can look around for traits or some of the purple pickups and that type of thing. So if you go into buildings, if you go off the hidden path, you can find a lot of these traits and things that really help level up your character. So for instance, if you play Warframe, traits are basically like the EP stat. Traits tell you how long someone's been playing the game by how many traits they've upgraded. So one person may have 50 trait points, and they haven't played but maybe 2 or 3 days. Someone else may have 300. Make sure you look around and grab those traits, because the more traits you get, the more you can upgrade your character, so you have more attributes and stats that are going to make your character a lot better. Stamina, defenses, that type of thing. Make sure you look around so you can get them. But also, you want to look around for items. So for instance, there's an old man up in an airplane. If you go and just talk to him constantly, just let him talk. You got to let your seniors talk. You can get a stopwatch. That stopwatch has a buff to your stamina, and because you looked around, you got that item. Now we'll talk about that in what I believe is number 7, which is going to be replayability. And that's where something like the stopwatching and looking around comes into it, because once you play through this game for the first time, you're not done. The first playthrough is probably going to take you about 10 hours on average, depending on how you play. But once you play through, you play the game again, because the game is going to be totally different. You're going to get a new boss layout. You're going to get items in different places. It just pays off to play again. You're going to get new boss loot mechanics. So for instance, when you fight the dragon boss and you just kill it, you'll get something. But if you knock the tail off, kind of like you would see in a Monster Hunter or a Dauntless, you get the flaming sword that everyone's been going out for. So make sure before you go into these bosses or after you've played them, you know what the boss mechanics are for each boss, so you can get the extra items from them, because you may not be able to roll those bosses later. So you might want to go ahead and get the items you can get. Also, replayability, because all bosses have different weapons, that type of stuff. So if you want all the weapons, you got to get all the bosses. You got to play the game over and over. For instance, the Undying King, we talked about him earlier. You could either bring the quest item back to the Undying King, or you could take it to the Butterfly Lady. You can't do that in a single playthrough. So the loot that you get from the Undying King, you can't get the loot from the Butterfly Lady, so you gotta re-roll the campaign and play again. Replayability. Now, you can also get multiple outcomes as well, but we'll go into that in a different video. But remember, you gotta play this game through more than once if you're a completionist. Number 8, and this is where it comes to my bad directions, don't expose the whole map. Now, many of the map tiles have multiple exits. Like you can have a dungeon over here, a boss over here, whatever. Usually you can go in different directions to get out of each of the maps. And it's really easy to get lost if you go through an area, you see a dungeon that might be opened up, and then you go and want to explore the area and come back to that one. Now, there's one way around that helps if you know about it. An area that you haven't gone into yet is actually blinking. I didn't really notice the blinking in the beginning, but mostly if you just don't want to get lost, just don't explore the whole map before you exit. Just go ahead and exit the part that you get to first. So when you come back to that area, the map is still shrouded and you've got a better idea of where you've been. Okay, just a useful little tip there. Number 9, grind pickup games. Now, when you first finish your campaign, you're not really going to know what to do. You could reroll your campaign, you could do whatever. But if you want to grind those traits and grind your upgrades, I would recommend that you go into the game and find random games to join of people already playing and grind out those resources. Grind out your traits, get your character leveled up, because the more you get that character leveled up, the more comfortable you're going to be once you go into hard mode and nightmare mode and all of that, because you might want to grind first. I've seen some people get one pop trying to go into nightmare mode, and it's not pretty. So once the campaign is done, do some pickup games, grind your traits and upgrades, you'll be fine. And finally, number 10, be careful playing with your high-level friends. I'm telling you, your friends are addicted to this game. I'm addicted to this game, so I've been trying to get more and more of my friends to play this. But don't jump right into the game with your high-level friends, because this game scales up, not down. So if you're playing a game and you pull one of your high-level friends in, that friend is going to scale the game up because of his upgrades that he already has to his armor and such, because it scales up. And if you go into a boss fight or you fight some enemies, those enemies are going to be a lot tougher. So just know you should level up a little bit more before you start playing with your friends, so you don't just get smashed out and they're not carrying you. It's not going to be a great situation, all right? So those are the 10 tips, the 10 facts of this game. I am going to bring a review. These facts are pretty basic for anyone who's played this game for like 3 hours. So this is more for the people who haven't really played yet and who are thinking about getting it. The review is probably going to come tomorrow, if not later tonight. I'm still working on that. I just needed a little bit of time on it. But overall, if you don't want to watch the review, I recommend it. For 40 bucks, you can't beat it. You spend 40 bucks on a lot less. One big trip to like a fast food restaurant can cost you like 15, 16 bucks. So 40 bucks for a game that's going to give you tons of replayability. It's going to have progression. It's going to have difficulty. For me, it's worth the purchase. So I definitely recommend, if you've got the extra cash, check this game out. It's worth it. And plus, it feels good to get your cheeks clapped. I mean, it feels good to play a game with a little bit of difficulty. That's what I meant to say. All right, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Review's coming out soon. Talk to you later.
Yep, fucking Mogamu. When people worship me like people worship 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 fucking Mogamu. When people worship me like people worship fucking Mogamu. When people worship me like people